But I don't know if you want anybody in the league that doesn't want to be here and isn't fully committed to it. And, so time will tell whether Maryland made a good decision for Maryland. I don't think it's damaged the Atlantic Coast Conference. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to Maryland, because of all the other good things that are going on with our league right now, and how we're moving forward and how we're positioned for the future with the 15 schools that we have. So I don't know the answer to that, and I'm not sure that really matters. Eventually you feel like, well, if that's what you want, I hope that works out for you. Good luck, and you move on. So.
Can I share the television story? The interesting part about Maryland's departure from the ACC, 3 years ago, the tournament returned to Washington, and it was an incredible success, so much so that it's going back to Washington in 3 years, right, Commissioner, 21? Right. The other thing is, from the television aspect, the metropolitan Baltimore-Washington TV number grew after Maryland left. Not that Maryland didn't matter, but that there was enough influence and alums and fans already established in the BWI market that it didn't drop. It's really one of the more interesting curiosities that I found out in the last couple of years, that you didn't lose any viewership or any real tangible television number at all after their departure, which I found fascinating.
Well, you're absolutely correct, and the tournament that you mentioned was a huge success.
Right.
Without Maryland. The impact, I'd rather keep our founding members, and I said so at the time, but it's worked out well for us. I'd rather talk about us than.
Let me go fourth row over here, and then they will have to have this microphone up front to this young man in the blue coat.
Hey,
yes,
I'm nobody's brother. I was just wondering, how close was Texas? I'm just picking with you, and that's not my follow-up question.
How what?
How close was Texas after Maryland left?
How close was Texas?
No. I'm
we were that
you.
close.
No. The question I was going to ask is, does ESPN's relationship with the SEC in any way impact or influence, especially in some of the, like baseball and some of the other sports, the relationship that the ESPN will have with the ACC?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think ESPN learned some things in starting the channel with the SEC that, we're not exactly reinventing the wheel, although we want our network to be different and distinctive from the SEC's, and the SEC would want that as well, and ESPN wants that as well. But no, I don't think ESPN's relationship with the SEC, affects in any negative way their relationship with us, and both conferences have had a long time association with ESPN.
Mr. Sutton.
Wes, it's nice to see you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Dr. Ben, this is going to be a tough question.
Yeah,
So I'm going to give you a layup. But first I got to say,
This guy's done unbelievable things in college athletics.
we
He really
started a little sports marketing company here in town. It's been a lot of fun to kind of be on the trajectory that we were. I will say to everyone, that I have to give two personal reflections first, just because I'm old and that's what I do. For Wes to have you here after your dad all these years was such a great mentor to me. In spite of the fact that I was a Wake Forest Demon Deacon. Most people don't know this, but Woody was actually formerly
Wake Forest radio voice. Yeah.
Voice of the Demon Deacons. But to have, I tell people, I actually gave a little talk the other day and talked about you and Taylor and how proud I was of both of you, and to have had both of the Durham boys work in my employ. And folks, I tweeted something a few moments ago for you to understand, there are a lot of sports writers in America who take pot shots at college athletics, and there's some things that we need to fix around college sports. But I've known Johnny Swofford since he was a young man. I think you were 32 or 33 years old, the athletic director at the University of North Carolina, one of the proud but equal 17 branches of the North Carolina system. You knew that was coming.
You knew he wasn't going to
I did that for my buddy John Burris and Paul Fulton. I saw him here a while ago.
Unbelievable.
But John Swofford took an interest in my career early in my career, and one thing that I learned from John a long time ago was the premise of doing the right thing the right way at the right time. And you've been a great mentor to me, and I've always appreciated that because you cared when nobody else knew who the hell I was. I do want to ask you, having been to Birmingham a month and a half ago, seen the Demon Deacons be the only ACC team to have won 3 consecutive bowl games the last 3 years. A lot of people
Go Deeks.
Yeah, that's right. By the way, there we go. Now you're talking. There was a lot of, there are a lot of people out there who kind of take shots at the number of bowl games and how meaningless they are. I was on the field with 5,000 other Wake Forest fans after that game who were euphoric about playing in a 3rd consecutive bowl game and winning a 3rd consecutive bowl game. I got my answer right there. But why don't you kind of talk about that and the value of the student athletic experience? And actually, the funny thing is, you talked about the name on the front of the jersey. I used to exhort our sales team at ISP and then IMG that the difference in our business is that we had lightning in a bottle. And our kids really do play for the name on the front of the jersey. And I'd say to everybody here tonight, before I turn it over to you to talk about bowl games and maybe getting rid of a conference championship game if you went to 8 teams, because I almost think that's the only way to do it. That's what's different about what we've done. I mean, there's 50% of college football players and 80% of college basketball players at the Power 5 level are first-generation college students. That's life-changing. I think people don't get that, and they don't talk about that enough. So I'm going to give you a chance to have an open-ended answer.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, because one thing I would say is I don't think we in college athletics have done a good enough job of talking about the quality of the experience for our student athletes and the opportunities that are there for our student athletes. And when there's a problem, that story gets told when we wouldn't want it to be told. When there's not a problem, some of those stories are told, but not nearly enough. And some of that's on us. There's so much attention put on the elite athletes, the high draft choices, the one and done players, and so forth, and so many opinions are formed based on those athletes. That still makes up, give or take a half of a percentage, about 2% of our athletes. And we have a very unique system in the United States. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Literally does not exist anywhere else in the world, where young people can have the opportunity to go to college, receive a free education, play a sport they love, and that combination of sports at a very high level of competition with an educational opportunity. And to me, that's something very precious and something we should cherish and protect. And yes, it's not perfect. It never has been perfect. It never will be perfect, because it's an endeavor by human beings, and we aren't perfect. And there are going to be mistakes along the way. But to flush that, in my opinion, would be a horrendous mistake for many, many young people and for the culture that we live in this great country. And that's why I feel so strongly about the collegiate model and you know, because we've got something really special. I mean, if your sons or daughters, and some of them probably have, but you know, if you have an opportunity to go to a great university and leave there with a degree, with no debt, and while you've been there, you've had the opportunity to play a sport that you love, and at least at our level, probably get a lot of attention for doing so. And you have the opportunity to experience all the life lessons that go along with that, from being in the public eye to getting knocked on your back numerous times, to being injured, to, you know, having to deal with defeat and having to, or getting the opportunity to depend on teammates, to understand what team means, to understand what leadership means, to learn how to handle defeat, to learn how to handle disappointment, to learn how to handle success, to learn how to handle winning. I mean, you just, it's pretty special. It's pretty special, and we need to make certain we don't lose that.
I was going to close this tonight by recreating James Lipton's Inside the Actors Studio. Your favorite show too, right? Where he had a stack of blue cards and he asked a variety of questions. And I decided I would ask one question at the end. When can you be a fan as the commissioner of the Atlantic Coast Conference?
At the national championship game when Clemson just beats the devil out of Alabama.
Commissioner, thank you. Appreciate it.
How about a big hand for Wes Durham and John Swofford. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you all for coming. Love to see you back here on April 26th. Thank you.